Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of our Q&A series here. Last one I did was when I was away traveling in Toronto. So it's been a few months now. So I'm going to be doing part 2 today. So I have had some questions come in. I'm just going to get started right away on it. And the first question I have here is, what are your tips for getting better sleep? So I think the big thing here with getting better sleep is you have to try to make a routine that's going to follow in guidance to where your lifestyle is. So, I think a big thing is we try to be perfect all the time with a sleep routine, or we try to try all these different things, but I think you just have to try to find something that works best for you. So something I would just say is trying to go to bed at the same time each day and trying to wake up roughly around the same time. I say within an hour is usually somewhere you can kind of stand in. So, if you go to bed at 10, the latest you might want to go to bed is 11. And then if you wake up at 7, the latest you want to wake up is 8. I find that just really sets your tone for the day, and you find that your body naturally wakes up around those times. There's some certain things that can help with better sleep too, like certain supplements, but I really try to just get a sleep routine down. Another one is obviously, and this one's pretty common, most people know this one, is not trying to have electronics before you go to bed. So if you are on your TV or you're on your phone or something, trying to be about an hour from bedtime. I would say also too, if you want, you could wear blue light blocking glasses if you really want to, but the one thing at the end of the day is it's just really dependent on the individual and what they want to do. But those would be some things I would say, and then that way you have at least some sort of plan. But I would try those two things out first. So no electronics an hour before bed, and trying to go to sleep around the same time. That will help. Next question here is, what are my thoughts on intermittent fasting? So I think the big thing here with intermittent fasting is that you don't have to do it if you don't think it's going to fit in your lifestyle. And you also can try it if you think it's something that would benefit you. I'm always I'm always someone who thinks that it's really good to try something to see if it's kind of something that suits you. But also at the same time, if you don't see yourself realistically doing something, and I'm just talking about intermittent fasting now, but it could be anything when it comes to nutrition. If you don't see yourself never having breakfast in the morning again, maybe that means intermittent fasting is not for you, kind of thing, right? So you just really have to ask yourself. I think intermittent fasting for a lot of people just helps them have a smaller eating window, which inherently just gets them to eat less throughout the day. I don't think there's really anything super magical about intermittent fasting personally. There's certain studies and things like that people try to claim and all this, and maybe there are certain things that can help beneficial wise, when it comes down to it. But I kind of go through phases of intermittent fasting, I guess you could say. Sometimes just depending on what my routine is. If I'm busier in the morning, sometimes I just find that I'm a little bit less more focused if I'm doing intermittent fasting, so I don't get as much brain fog. But personally, lately, I've been having a little breakfast in the morning and I've been fine. So it's just trying to find something that kind of suits you and what's best for you. So next one here is, how would you go about encouraging a friend to start their health journey when they have an excuse for everything? I think the big thing here for anyone, if you're trying to encourage anyone, if that's a friend, the family member, your kids, whoever it is, you just have to be someone who can be there when they're ready. I think a lot of times, we try to force someone to do something, and it's really hard for people to justify and understand, is this going to be something that I need or what I want at this time? I could tell a family member till I'm blue in the face, you should be working out, you should be weightlifting, you should be doing nutrition, you should be doing this. But it's not until they are ready to actually take that step that then they will be ready to reach out to me. And sometimes they just never are, and you can't really force anyone like that, and you shouldn't have to. It's not your responsibility to also force your friend to do something. Yes, you care about them and you care about their health, and you can encourage them to try to do things, if that's going for a walk or coming to the gym with you or trying a new restaurant out that has maybe some healthier options. You can do stuff like that, and you can kind of take them with you, but it's really hard to force them on their journey. But encouraging them and just being there when they need some help or guidance, and just being a good influence on them will help them later on down the road. Next one here is, how do I help my friend who wants to get started with working on their health? Oh, this is kind of the same similar question. So, it's funny. I actually didn't even see this one. But yeah, so it's same kind of what I just said. It's just basically like, trying to get them, encouraging them to come back and do things and, go do them with you, and trying to like be able to try and get them to go do something that they're not used to. I think, that's another thing is like, you don't have to do something super extreme with them. Like I said, go for a walk, do something, educate them, send them a podcast, I don't know, or send them your coach's number. I don't know, like, just trying to encourage them like that will help as well. So I guess those two questions are pretty similar. But next one here is, how do you successfully transition away from tracking your food when you want to be in maintenance mode? So this is a really good question, and this can go many different ways, but for me personally, I don't track my food anymore. I am not someone currently at this stage in my life that I'm trying to gain a ton of muscle, lose a ton of body fat. I'm pretty happy with where I am. Obviously, sometimes I'm going to be real honest. I look at myself and it'd be nice to be a little bit leaner, or it might be nice to be a little bit more muscular. But I find this where I'm at currently sustainable. Like, I can sustain this. I don't have to track calories. I know about how much food I can eat in a day. I go off the base of how I feel in the gym, but also to my energy throughout the day. I know when I need to eat. I know when I know these signals about myself, and I think that's a really big cue, is knowing, the times when you're actually per se hungry, or you have a craving, or things like that. But also just understanding portions, I think, is such a big thing too. And just knowing like portion sizes for you. Like me, I'm about 220 pounds. So my portion sizes are probably going to be a lot different than a female that is 150 pounds, right? So you just have to look at that and understand that for yourself. But if you're going to transition out, I would start by really making sure that you can still track, but maybe not track everything. So it's like maybe just tracking 2 out of 3 meals. And then those 2 meals you have tracked. The other meal you go based off how you feel. If you need to have protein, carbs, things like that. Or just going a basis off of like, I'm going to hit a protein goal. I'm still going to track my protein. I'm still going to make sure I have enough fruits and veggies and enough water. And I'm going to try to let the carbs and the fats be in portion size. So, you can use your hand as like portion guides too. There's some charts and things like that. So if you want any, I can send them your way. But that's how I would start, just looking at those things, doing it slowly, right? You're not going to want to completely go off tracking and never like do it again in the aspect of if you're transitioning out, but just slowly doing things will help you get out of that transition and be able to, slowly start to transition into more of a quote unquote maintenance mode. Next question here, will you automatically lose muscle if you're in a calorie deficit and not eating a lot of protein? Will you still lose fat? This is such a dependent on the individual. Sometimes genetics play such a big role here. If you're strength training, what are your calories like all these things. But most of the time, if you can eat adequate protein and strength train, the likelihood that you will lose muscle will be a lot lower than if you don't eat enough protein and you aren't strength training. So I think the big thing here is, if you're not going to eat a lot of protein, I would still try to strength train. This might sound contradictory to what people say, but like, maybe if in this case you're not going to eat a lot of protein, you could use something like a supplement to help with that, just because this is a dependent on the individual. So, something like a BCA or EAA might help in this case. I know a lot of times people are against it because if you're eating enough protein and then have a BCA, EAA, they say it's pointless. I've seen actually a lot of people that are either vegan or vegetarian that don't get enough protein in their diet through other sources that use a BCA and EA and see a huge difference and getting enough amino acids in. So that could be an option as well, but I would also try to I would still try to maintain your strength training. You could lose fat too with obviously a calorie deficit, but if you're gonna stick away from the eating a lot of protein in a deficit, I'm gonna guess this might be for a digestion thing, but I would maybe try like an EA, BCA. Make sure you're still strength training. Make sure that you are not doing too much cardio too. That's a big thing here, is like to lose muscle, we want to be sending a right signal to the body. So that's going to be strength training, and we don't want to send the wrong signal and do too much of cardio, because then we can be losing muscle at that same time. So just like be aware of those things. But I would say if that would be the case for you, that's something that I could see as well. Next question here are, habits are hard to break, especially ones that have been years in the establishing. What quick ways can we integrate new habits, replace, let go of old for anything we try, like lifestyle, mindset, etc.? So from my understanding of this question, it's just asking basically like, if we are having habits that we've had for a very long time, how do we break them quickly? The hard thing here is you've built this habit for so long, so to reverse it will take some time too. But I think the quickest way to do this is to first you have to be aware of it, right? Like, why do you do this habit? Why is it being incorporated in your day-to-day? Are you, like doing something because of a childhood thing? Are you doing something because it was from a different diet? Like, why are you doing it, and what feelings lead to those habits to get to that point? But I think also too, the big thing here is to replace them or to let go of something, just trying new things, right? Like, if that's investing in a coach or doing some research on something or trying something new. I think the big thing here is like, there is no one size fits all to how you go about this, but I do think you can't rush it too much, because it will be overwhelming if you try to do it too quickly. And if you do it too quickly, then what's going to happen is it's going to lead to more and more struggles down the road. So I would start there by, realizing and understanding what is holding you back. And then once you know that, trying to do something that is the opposite of what it is. So if you have a hard time going to the gym, what can you do that incorporates doing something physical that maybe doesn't go to the gym right away, but you start to build it? So if that's going for a walk, or if that's doing 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 10 squats in your house, like, that's the way you start to do it, is by slowly doing it like that. And sometimes you just can use like your community to help as well, to really build you and support you moving forward with that. All right, next one here. How often should you step on the scale? I'm someone who, I don't have personally my clients weigh themselves too much. Not that I don't believe in it. I actually just talked about this on a podcast, but I just think sometimes it comes with more negatives than positives for people. I do think you can have a healthy relationship with the scale and still be able to move forward and understand your progress. But I just see a lot more people have a negative side to that than a positive. I personally don't weigh myself that much. I have had some issues in the past with my mindset with the scale, and I still work through it as well with myself. But I think the thing for me is more of the fact of like, first, am I healthy? But also two, is my weight that I look at, is that realistic for myself? With the scale, you just want to make sure that you understand, is this an appropriate weight for myself? But also to, am I strength training? Am I trying to gain muscle? Like, that will also influence what your weight on the scale will be. So, I think there's oftentimes a misconception when somebody starts a journey, they weigh themselves and they're like, I'm going to try to weigh myself and I'm trying to lose as much weight as possible. But it's like, what happens if you're gaining muscle at the same time? Especially if you're brand new to working out, what happens is you tend to gain more muscle, and you gain muscle quicker at a quicker rate as well, also while losing body fat. So there's a recomp effect a lot of times when you start out with weightlifting. So sometimes what can happen is you might gain 5 pounds of muscle, but you might lose 5 pounds of body fat, but on the scale, nothing changes because you gained 5 pounds of muscle, but lost 5 pounds of body fat. So that's also just being aware. At the end of the day, this question is very hard, is like, how often should you do it? It's really dependent on you as the individual. Some people can do it every single day and have a relationship with the scale and it doesn't bug them. Some people need to do it once a month. Some people need to do it once a year. Some people just never need to weigh themselves again and just go based off how they feel. So this one's just so dependent on the individual, but just try to take those tips and try to understand kind of what works best for you. Should I eat back next question. Should I eat back the calories I burn while working out? No, don't do that. That's going to be way too complicated. I'm just going to keep this super simple. Don't track back or don't eat back the calories that you burn while working out. If you're tracking your calories, it will automatically usually put it into the scale for you or the app or whatever. So just don't eat back what you burn. How do I encourage someone to start becoming, again, same kind of question. A lot about how do I encourage someone to become healthier in my life? So I've had this question repeated a few times now. So yeah, just go back to that question there. Do you think it's possible to live a healthy lifestyle and consume alcohol on a regular basis? I do, yes. I do think it is possible. I personally just don't drink myself. I find it easier. I don't feel good when I drink. I don't think having 2 drinks to just have 2 drinks is worth it in my opinion. I'd rather probably have a dessert or a treat or something that's a little bit more delicious than alcohol. It also takes me probably 10 to 12 drinks to even feel anything anyways. A lot of times people drink for the feeling. It would take me copious amount of drinks to even get to that point. So for me, it's just not worth it. But I do think you can. I think the big thing here is like also realizing that you don't have to feel like you're obligated to drink if you are in situations that people are drinking. I think as people, we tend to think that that is something that is mandatory if we're going out to eat or we're at an event. And I think a lot of times we might get guilt tripped into drinking or having multiple drinks. And I think sometimes you can just enjoy your life without it, but you can also enjoy your life with it if you have boundaries with it. But that's just dependent on the individual. Do you think there's ever a good reason to lose a lot of weight quickly? This one's a hard question. In some cases, yes. I'm not going to get too in depth with it though, because I don't want the message to come across as something that somebody might try. But I will say there are certain reasons where somebody would need to lose weight quickly. But I'm going to keep it at that. If you want to know more, just ask me in person. I just don't want to have the message come across where there's no context behind it, and I don't feel comfortable answering that question just with a video without talking back and forth with someone. So I don't want to answer that one in this case here. But yes, there is some reason or ways reasons when you should lose weight quickly. How do I know how much protein I should be eating? This one's pretty easy. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. If you don't know your body fat percentage, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound. So 0.18 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you would be eating 80 to 100 grams of protein a day, roughly. Again, that's just a rough estimate. What do you struggle with most when it comes to maintaining your own fitness and nutrition? I think the biggest thing for me is because I live and breathe in the space, I honestly get times where I do not want to work out at all. Like I don't even want to be in a gym. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to do it myself. Like for me, I get very like, I just need to take a step back because I'm so involved in it. So for me, I try to do things that I enjoy. So I like to strength train, so I make sure to do that. Some days I just go in there and just get a pump, get an upper body workout in, get some bicep curls and triceps, go for a walk, do something that just gets me moving, because I tend to teeter back and forth of like not loving it myself, like not doing it myself. And I think sometimes that really hones on my own journey, which I know is something that I'm still working through. But I know for me personally at this point, I just try to do things that I like and enjoy. Like I said, I don't really have a current specific fat loss or muscle gain goal. I'm just trying to maintain and be someone who's healthy and lives a life where I can go enjoy a meal or go work out here and there, not having to always obsess if I miss a workout, or, you know, I'm pretty consistent overall, but like I do it so those other things, when they come up, I'm not so worried about when they are coming up. With nutrition, honestly, I don't really have a hard time with that when it comes to my day-to-day. I'm very like rigid and very consistent with what I do. I'm okay with eating similar things each day. It makes me feel good. I have a lot of different gut issues that I've worked through a lot, so I really see food as like what's gonna make me feel good and what do I digest really well. I know a lot of times people tend to look at food as like how, like, oh, something like an event or there's cake or that. I don't do that just because I know it doesn't make me feel good. I'm very someone who, like, I don't like not feeling good. I don't know a lot of people that don't, but we tend to self-sabotage ourselves by doing things that, you know, we probably know we shouldn't do, but we do anyways. I'm very someone who's learned over the years that I just don't like feeling like that. That's why I don't drink as well, is because I just don't like feeling shitty in general. I just eat foods that make me feel good, and I do workouts that make me feel good. I don't try to push it too much, and when you look at longevity anyways, that's kind of what you want to be, is like you don't want to be in such a state where you're always like pushing yourself to the max, always sore, always super inflamed. So those are just things that I've found to like really help me. What is calorie cycling? Should I be doing it? Calorie cycling is basically just changing your calories not every day, but one day you might have a high day, one day you have a low day, but at the end of your week, your total calories for the end of the week is equal to the same. So for example, let's say you have 1,000 calories each day. That will be 7,000 calories by the end of the week. Calorie cycling would be like having 1,100 one day and then 900 the next. 1,100 one day, 900 the next, and then it would equal out to the 7,000 still. This can be done if you have, like, a lot of times people have their high days when they work out, and then they'll have their low days, the days they don't work out. I found it to be, if you get very hungry on days that you work out and your hunger signals are high, that's when you would want to probably have your higher calories, just because then you will feel more satisfied and you won't be as hungry. And then on your low days, when you're very like sedentary and you're not really doing much, then that's when sometimes you can do your low days, and you can always change it too. Personally, a lot of people, I find this can be sometimes overwhelming, but you can do it if that's something that you want to try. Some people see a big benefit from it. I personally just tend to probably eat, you know what, I actually do it without even thinking sometimes, now that I'm reflecting on it. On days I work out, I tend to eat more just because I'm hungry, and then days that I don't work out, I just tend to eat less. I'm just more mindful of it and understand it because I've done it for so long. I also tracked literally every single day for 3 years and didn't miss a day, and I could tell you exactly what everything is in food just because I've done it for so long. So in my day-to-day, I tend to just mindfully think like, oh, I had this today, like what would be supportive in this moment right now? Or like I had a meal that was super high in protein, but I didn't have any like carbohydrates. What could I add to this meal? Or, oh, this meal is very heavy in fats and carbs, but I didn't eat enough protein. Like, so there's like things like that. So that's just basis off of understanding what's in your food too. So that just moves the needle forward when you understand like what's in your food. And our last question here: is it possible to lose weight without counting calories? Yes, it is. I like more like, is it possible to lose fat without counting calories? But weight, I know what they mean. Yes, it is. I can do it. if that's something that I wanted to do personally. But like I said, right now I'm just at the point where I'm just trying to maintain and enjoy. But if I were to do it, if I were to start today, I would just slowly reduce the amount of portions I would have in my day. So I would keep my protein, my vegetables, my fruit at where it is, but I would slowly just cut a portion or two out of my main meals of carbohydrates down first, and then I would just slowly build it off of that. Or this is something where sometimes people will throw in intermittent fasting. So they'll prolong, they won't have their, let's say, quote unquote breakfast. So now they're taking away probably 500 calories away, and then they would eat their lunch, snack, and dinner. And that's sometimes how people start as well. So there is ways of doing it. It does take time to reverse it, but I know that if you can follow something that suits you and you can work on understanding like what's exactly in your foods, you'll be able to understand exactly like how to go about moving forward with these things. And I think that's sometimes the misconception with this, is that you don't need to track calories to lose fat. You don't need to be doing a specific diet. You don't need to be doing all these different things. I think sometimes we know that what to do with fat loss, but we get bombarded with so many different things that are hitting at us, like this diet, this detox, this workout, this boot camp, this blah blah blah, and it's just like so many things. And I think the biggest things at the end of the day is just trying to get down to the basics and understanding exactly where you stand and where you are now, but then and working from that point instead of trying to be like someone else or trying to do the next best fast thing. And that's why I didn't want to answer the question in regards to like losing fat quickly, because I think a lot of people already try to do that, and I think it creates more of a problem than a solution. But I do say that there are certain cases, specific cases, where losing weight or losing fat quickly can be helpful, but it would have to be it would have to be done it's the right word here. It would have to be done very meticulously and thought out, and there have to be a plan. It wouldn't just be like, I'm just gonna not eat. It would have to be done with the right people behind you. It would also have to be done structured and things like that. So, but yeah, I'm going to end it off here because those are all the questions that I had received. I just want to thank everyone for listening, but also thank everyone who answer or gave me some questions to answer. I always appreciate being able to do this. It's always fun for me. I can talk about nutrition and fitness all day. I do love doing it. So thank you so much. And if you have any other questions, anything that I touched on today, you can send them here, or you can email me at upnorthathletics@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, anything like that. But other than that, I thank everyone again for listening, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out.